Welcome everyone back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics, so we're going to get right into it. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about today is my plans and um, my overall hopes for this podcast. The first thing that I want to talk about is I hope to do an hour podcast every 2 weeks. I think that's a good goal for me. So I hope to do that. I hope to cover some live streams um, or live podcasts in this podcast series. We might do some YouTube content in the future. And then, of course, we'll continue with our podcasts every 2 weeks. All right, so the first thing I want to get into today is talking about how my past is going to hopefully shape my future. So, the first thing I want to say is um, explaining my background a little bit. I worked in retail and I was also a server for a little bit. And those, you would think everyone always associates the retail as a bad job. No one wants that job. It's terrible. They no one's nice, everyone's mean. You got to deal with mean and angry customers all the time. People make it out to be a very bad job. And here's my opinion on that. Retail is not for everyone. Retail is something that only certain people I feel like would want to do or do better at it because it is a lot of customers. You do see a lot of customers daily. You do have to talk to other customers. Sometimes you even have to talk in Spanish or use a Spanish translation app, or even I had this other guy the other day speaking Mandarin Chinese, and I had to talk to him in Mandarin Chinese, and that's something that is not for everyone, and but it is really cool for some people. Like for me, it's really cool to be able to talk to people in different languages right in your hometown and not you don't even have to go anywhere. You just go to work and you get to talk to people in different languages. You kind of get to learn a little bit about them. It's kind of cool. I had this one guy from I think it was Brazil. He was telling me about how um, he worked at a grocery store down there, and it was really just cool to hear him talk about what it was like there. And I feel like a lot of people that come to the United States, I might be wrong, but I feel like most of the people that I talk to that come to the United States from other countries are always very fascinated by our big box stores like Best Buy and Target, Walmart, and Meijer and um, Winn-Dixie and Kroger. And I feel like a lot of those really people walk in and they're like, whoa, this is crazy. But to the average American, that is just an average day. You go to the grocery store, get your groceries, and you just keep going. And that's something that I feel like I feel like as an American, I kind of take for granted because most people in the world, I guess, don't really have that. I mean, I've taken Spanish classes in the past where they always tell you, well, they go one place for this, they go one place for that, they go one place for that, and they kind of have a little bit more of a one-stop shop here. Like you can go to the grocery store and get all your groceries and not have to go anywhere else. And I think it's kind of cool. It's a cool concept and it's definitely convenient. And I think it's something that should be brought, um, we should definitely take advantage of that and bring it to its full capacity because it's kind of nice to just be able to go to one place, get everything, even if it's not the best um, solution. Sometimes it's the best solution, especially for families and people who just want to do, okay, I got an hour before work, I'm going to get my groceries and then I'm coming back. That is that quick move, get your stuff, come back, go to work. And that that's what people want, at least in the United States. That's what is expected and that's what's easy for us. I mean, we spend 5 days at work and then you got 2 days and you don't want to spend all that time just trying to get your stuff for the week. You want to have some time to relax and see family and see friends. And I think it's just a really neat concept having one building or one store for all your things and getting it all. I think that's pretty cool, and um, I think it's just a neat concept, and I think a lot of people that come here from different countries, like um, tourists, visitors for work, and they're always like, "This is crazy. This is not what I'm used to. This is crazy." Um, but they end up liking it because I feel like because it is kind of nice just to be able to go to one place, get all your stuff, and then leave. And it's a cool concept. Going into the next thing, so I want to talk about my goals for my career. I was really thinking about this and what are my goals and stuff that I want to do to for my life and because I was really thinking about it. A lot of people really like 9 to 5s or two to tens or 2 to 12 or however long of hours your shift is. And that's great for some people, and that works for some people. Some people like the consistency of I go to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, or whatever your schedule is. And I think it's great for some people, and some people need that consistency, but some people want to do something different every day. And I think that's me. I think I want to be able to do something different every day and really have a great variety of places to go and things to do and just being somewhere different every day. It's kind of cool. Um, my goals for this channel, I want to inspire other people. I want other people to um, think, oh, it is possible. I can do what I want. I can make this possible. I can make my life goals. I can just do what's best for you. I also want to create a platform. I know that we're on Apple Podcasts right now. We're working on getting to more podcast podcasting channels, and we're going to continue in the future to do that because I think it's really good to get out there. And we have a website set up, and I think it looks pretty good. It does the job. It has the description of the show, and then it has all of our shows beneath it. And I think that's really important and a good, just a home base to go and see, okay, this is where you can watch our podcast on, and then all of the options. So we're working on getting some more um, of those. Another thing I want to talk about is traditional college isn't for everyone. And that's another thing about life design and life goals. And traditional college wasn't for me. I tried it. But every day I woke up and I was like, there's something else out there for me, and there's something else that I can do. And it just wasn't for me. And I left, I came home, and I went to retail, and I'm currently working in retail. It's been about a couple months, and now I'm starting to push and starting to get somewhere in the aviation industry, and it's actually really cool. It's really cool to see that, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where that's going to go, and um, and I know all my family members and friends are super excited about that for me because it's going to be cool. I mean, the pictures will be cool. Getting to just look outside of the airplane and just see somewhere I haven't been, or see somewhere that it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. What else should we talk about today? The tech will get better. I want to do better. I'm not very good at editing podcasts or putting music or making intros into any podcasts or music or anything like that. So I definitely want to get better with that, and I can tell you it will get better. The editing will get better. I want to put music, I want to put intros in, I want to make all those better. I think this is a really good way to start a really cool idea and a really cool podcast, and I think this has some potential. I also want to have special guests, and that's something that will start up soon. Um, Maybe within a couple of months, is having some special guests come on and explain their journey through their career and what they want to do, and really just ask some cool questions. Ask them where they've been. Have you been out of the United States? Where have you gone? Where do you like to go? Do you like hot weather? Do you like cold weather? I don't know. It can be kind of cool. Um, and I think I think this podcast has some potential, and I think we'll get there. We're gonna work on that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the difference for me as I'm now emerging into my aviation career and starting to work on transitioning to aviation. I want to talk about retail for a second. Retail has some similarities to the aviation and my serving position, and something about retail that really makes me just very confused in a way is how they're able to keep track of everything. They're retail big box stores. These things are huge facilities, and it's crazy to me how they're able to keep track of all that. And when I look something up or put in an order and they're able to find it in the store and get it out, and how they're even able to tell on, let's say, the app of the retail store, on the app, oh, that's in stock or that's out of stock, that's low in stock. I just find it very interesting and fascinating that they're able to figure all that out, have everything good to go. And and I find it fascinating. Also, um, the weird thing about retail that was different from the serving job that I had, at least in my experience, is for retail, they didn't want to send anyone home. They were always like, we will find something for you to do in this facility that is besides sending you home. So we actually, the way the system and the retail job I had worked is we would actually be deducted points if we left early, we showed up late, or didn't show up at all. We would get 2 points for that. So it was a very structured system. And I found it very fascinating because the server job or server position that I had, they always wanted to send people home. And I found it very interesting and fascinating that how the two companies are different and how each industry kind of has its own thing. And I think it's going to be really cool to see that when going into the aviation industry, where to see what kind of changes are going to come with that. Because for me, I did like retail better than serving. I felt like for serving, I felt underpaid. It felt very strenuous. I felt like there was a lot of pressure from our customers, and but with retail, I it does feel a lot more relaxed. You have a lot more time to really just do your thing. And whether it's stocking or the delivery service or picking things out for the delivery service or cashiering or stuff like that, I feel like those things are very those things are very um not less stressful, but more laid back than going out into for me at least. This may be different for some people. Going out into a dining room, seeing a bunch of customers just looking at you and thinking in their head, "Let's go, pick up the pace, go quicker." It just feels a lot more. I do my work, I can go home. I don't really have anyone looking at me like, "Go quicker, do your job, let's go." It's kind of just more relaxed at your own pace. And I feel like that's also something as well, as you're kind of in retail, you're more kind of doing your own pace. You're going at your own pace. You're getting things, if you're doing the delivery or pickup or whatever they got go the whatever that store has, their services, you're very at your own pace. And there are certain things where things are kind of timed, or You got to go at a certain speed, or they'll come talk to you. And but even with that, I found it's not a horrible speed to go at. It's a normal speed. You can still kind of slow down a little bit, have your moment if you're having a moment. If you just had a difficult customer, you can kind of walk away, have your moment, and then keep going, and then go back to work. And that's another cool thing too is with serving, you got to go back and deal with that customer to bring out their dessert, for example. So it's kind of cool just to be able to step away, just calm down for a second, and then get back to work. And I think for that reason, at least, it's easier for me to handle that. So, um, yeah. And I've also done a lot of research on changing gears now to podcasts. I thought it was very interesting just to take a look at all the different ways that people podcast. People go to centers, or people will go to some people will do it at home. Some people got these huge podcast studios set up, and I'm starting very small, but I mean, it would be cool to one day get into a huge podcasting room and be able to speak to all you guys from a huge podcasting room and rent it out. And I think that'd be pretty cool. But I was also looking up about podcasting, and just the people, because I wasn't even sure how many people work on podcasts, and I kind of looked it up. I mean, I listen to a bunch of podcasts as well, and I just find it fascinating to hear how many people actually go through and to produce a podcast. And I looked it up, and I mean, you got your administrator, you got your legal team, you got your finance, you got a show manager, looks like an analyst. I mean, that was surprise to me, because honestly, I always thought that the same people, or the same person that was working on that podcast, I always thought, oh, they're the ones that are doing everything. They're the ones that are editing. They're the ones that are just making that show come alive. And I found that really interesting that it really wasn't the fact. And so just before episode one, I'm already learning so much about this podcasting adventure, and it's only going to get more from here. And I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more about the ways of podcasting, and I'm excited to get into it. I also want to, in the future, set up some questions, like maybe a form of some sort if you have questions about the show or something like that. Some ways to interact with the community and interact and answer questions and stuff like that. I mean, you see that with a lot of even YouTubers. You can see that. So that's always pretty cool as well. So yeah, it's different. I've never done this before, but I do think it's cool, and I think this has some good realities. All right, coming up next, the next thing we're gonna talk about today is interview process at an aviation company, or working on aircraft for an aviation company. I actually did get selected to move along in the interview process at a company, and I'm kind of excited about it. And it was very different than the other jobs that I have applied for and got, because I had a round one interview, but it was online. And I found that very interesting, because when I went into my retail job, for example, they emailed me back like 6 months later and said, "All right, come in for an interview." And then I met up with a leader in that department or something like that, and they said, and they kind of just walked you to the back room, and they said, "Why do you want to work here?" Gave my reason. Boom. They're like, "You're hired." And then for my serving position, that was definitely a very interesting interview. Um, I felt like it was a little bit more. It was definitely a little bit more detailed. I got to know some of the employees during the interview, which is kind of cool. And I think that's something, if I'm ever a manager giving an interview out to other people, or I would kind of want them to know some of the employees even before they get the job. I would like to walk them kind of around and get them used to the environment just to see how they react, see if that's something they're even willing to do. Sometimes in interviews, I think that people just based off of the ones that I've watched, um, I can kind of tell they don't want the job after they come in sometimes, and you can really kind of see that based off of their reactions and what they say during the interview process. And I mean, I would rather just show them what it's kind of going to look like, and so they're prepared and they're um, still willing to do that. And if they're not, then that's okay. Some jobs aren't for everyone. Serving's not for everyone. I don't know if it was necessarily for me. I think I definitely do better in retail. But I mean, I really did like talking to the customers and got to meet a lot of familiar faces and get to talk to people every week. I learned a lot, and I'm definitely talk about that in this podcast coming up soon. Um, but it was an experience that I don't take for granted, and I wouldn't go back to it. I would never go back. But it was an experience that I'm glad I had, and I'm glad that I'm doing retail now. I'm glad that I made that step, and I'm glad that I made that pay increase, and I'm glad that all of this happened for me to be able to move to that next step. But right now, for me at least, I'm ready to move on to the next step and get to that airline career. So, and I mean, I think that's something that we're going to be talking about a lot on this podcast, and it's in the podcast description. We're going to talk about aviation a lot, and I'm excited, and we might talk about some news stories that have happened in aviation. We might talk about there's just a lot of things that we can get into that would be pretty cool. Let me look over my notes here to see if we have anything else that we could talk about while we were on the topic of that. Another thing I found interesting about the Walmart or your Target or your Kroger or your Winn-Dixie or any of the big box stores, something that I saw interesting is the way they schedule. I saw that really interesting. I The reason why I find it interesting, at least the retail store I worked at, everything was done by an automated machine. So your schedule was not created by a human. And I found that very interesting because I was not used to that because the job I worked before, they literally asked me every time, we're going to put you on the schedule for that day and that day. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good to me. Now I'm used to logging in the day after the schedule gets out and just seeing it there. And a lot of the times it's wrong. But that's something that we got to work on. But so there's definitely goods and bads of the scheduling process in retail versus other jobs. And that's also, I feel like, moving to a big company as well. I feel like big companies often use not necessarily AI, but some kind of computer system or some kind of system they have set up to write out the schedules. So I don't know. It was kind of an interesting concept when I first started working there. I was like, wait, what? No one's actually putting this in here. It's just telling you what you're gonna work. That's kind of cool. And it somehow distributes all the hours out. It's kind of cool. Um, because of course full-time employees would have first priority over all the hours, and then it would go to the part-time employees. So whatever was left over from the full-time employees would get moved to the part-time employees, and it was interesting. Often got messed up, but I'm sure that will get better in the future, and I'm sure that will continue to evolve as time goes on. Um, yeah, so I find that interesting, and that's all really that I have to say about that. Um, yeah, and so around this time in the podcast, we're about 30 minutes in about, and I'm trying to find something that to do every week. There's a lot of shows that out there that talk about something every week, and I want to find what it is would be for this show that we could talk about every week, or some kind of like funny fact or something of the week. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying to figure out that, and I think that could be interesting in the future doing that every week and just having a 5 minute segment about something. If you have any, um, if you have any suggestions, I would love to have them. We're going to get something set up to where you can drop your suggestions or questions or anything you may have. We'll figure out something um, for where that to be put, because I want to see them. I want to know your suggestions, and if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything like that, I would love to hear them. And yeah, so yeah, this podcast is definitely going to do pretty good, I think. Also, another thing I want to talk about is mention is I sound extremely sick, I feel like, after listening back to this. I didn't think I sound sick in person, but I kind of do sound sick in the video while I was attempting to edit everything out, and I wanted to apologize for that. Hopefully, I do get better for the next episode, and hopefully that you don't hear that noise, because that there was also some background noise that I was trying to cut out, and I hope it sounds better next time. So again, I'm sorry about that, and we're working on it, and we're gonna keep working on getting the podcast sounding better, and maybe getting some new technology in the future to minimize the background noises. And I think I pretty much got it all out, but it can be better. So I'm going to continue working on that, just making sure it's all polished up by the background noises and other things and other distractions. So hopefully it'll be better in the future, and I hope it's not too bad in this episode. And since today is the first episode, we're going to go ahead and end it right now for today. Um, Coming up next week, we're going to continue talking about aviation. I'm going to also figure out something that we can start doing every week, and also I'm going to have some new questions, and I'm also going to get a suggestions platform started, or places where you can ask questions, anything else like that. So we're going to get all that. That's all going to be coming up next time. Um, so the next podcast will be coming out in about 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.